Hi, everybody. This is the Acoustic Guitar Show Players Edition. And today, a very special guest. He's in my heart, and he's in many people's heart, and he's introduced by this. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tommy Emmanuel.
Daniele, tutto bene?
Tutto bene. Everything is
in,
fine.
Are you in Roma?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And now you are touring US, and you are in?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, and I play tonight. Tomorrow I go to Virginia, and we pick up Mr. Andy McKee on the way.
Oh, and, say hello to him.
I will. Andy comes to do some shows with me the next 3 days.
Great.
And then I will go to England, and I have a new granddaughter, so I have two grandbabies.
Oh. And
one was born last week.
So, thank you for doing this. First of all, I'm talking to the best acoustic players, and especially those who gave a real contribution. And your contribution to acoustic guitar is really special to me. I don't know if you remember what happened with Eric Clapton Unplugged. That record really was useful to acoustic guitar for being introduced to a different audience.
Absolutely. I think Eric really wasn't sure how that was going to go, and of course it was magical and won him so many awards and everything. But I think the best part was that a new generation discovered great players like Big Bill Broonzy and Robert Johnson and people like that.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's why people like Eric Clapton, they are messengers. You know, they are bringing the message, because the people who've gone before them are gone now, but their music lives through the next person who is the right person. You know, the universe seems to send a messenger when it's needed. You know, like Stevie Ray Vaughan came along and changed the world for the blues. And he came along at the right time, and you know, he didn't just play like B.B. King or whatever. He played like Albert King, and he had a whole different way to present his playing, and so that he was being a messenger, you know.
Absolutely. And this is why I made this example, because I found similar things in what you did. Because but you were finishing something? I'm sorry.
No,
did I interrupt you?
No.
Because you have a very, I don't want to say a strange story, but your background is not exactly built into acoustic guitar only. And I mentioned something for you. But you have many things behind before becoming what you are today. So the first question is, and I'm asking this to almost everyone, how is it to become Tommy Emmanuel in a world that doesn't have Tommy Emmanuel yet?
Well, I think what I brought was songs that the roots of all my music is in the people that I listened to all my life, not just guitar players, but I listen to singers and songwriters, and I'm moved very much by good songs, and I'm looking for great melody. And so when I think about who came before me with their recordings, like Leo Kottke and John Fahey and people like that, I didn't hear much melodic music. I heard guitar orientated music, and I had enough of that. I want to hear a melody that tells me a story and takes me somewhere. So it's a different approach. I can play the other style. I can play things that guitar players like, but I'm not interested so much in doing that. I'm interested in making a bridge between me and the rest of the world with my music and telling stories with my songs. So the thing
was that clear from the beginning to you? Was that
no
always clear in your mind from the
well,
beginning?
what was always clear in my mind was that the song had to be good. You know,
Yeah.
The song had to say something. I didn't just play a bunch of notes because I could. You know, it's I've never done that ever, and I never will. And so the importance to me was to have something good to say. And I think Chet Atkins records helped me to focus on, if you're going to be an instrumentalist with no singing, you better have some good songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's where that came from. And by the time I started to build an audience in Australia and around the world, and I did that because I was entertaining. I had some good songs, but I did things that nobody else did, and that's what helped to open the door for me, you know. And so I think because I reached this position of where I was now starting to travel around the world and playing concerts and getting promoters and agents interested in me doing a show. You know, it's like, you don't have a singer, you don't have a band, no, just guitar. Let's go. You know, and so it took a little while to change people's view on things. You know, and so, and I did a few shows with Leo Kottke and Doc Watson and people like that, and they did exactly their thing, you know, what you would expect. I had a lot more to say, a lot different variety. I felt it was important for me to always try to entertain people and to use the songs as a way of touching people, you know. And somewhere in the show, I allowed people to take a breath and to relax, you know. And I think finding the right songs, getting the show together, all that was very important.
Absolutely.
To do it right.
Can I say that Chet Atkins was your major influence? Is that correct?
As a guitar player,
Yeah,
he was probably the biggest influence.
probably.
But there was also Django. There was the Jimmy Rogers records. There was, you know, the James Burton, Albert Lee, Roy Nichols, Don Rich, all the guitar players who played with country singers. I had to learn all their parts because I worked with country singers too. And so I had to learn all those kind of electric guitar playing steel guitar part and stuff like that. You know, I had to learn all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's weird because you are really a game changer in acoustic guitar. There's no other way to say that. I mean, there is acoustic guitar before you and after you. I mean, I'm not comparing you to you know, someone bigger, but this is what happened. It's weird that all the influences, and I know this because we spoke many times, and I know where you come from. There's not too much acoustic guitar. at which point did you decide that, for example, you were not playing a classical guitar or a nylon string or a Gretsch guitar or an electric guitar, but why did you pick up the acoustic guitar and play that way?
Because it worked as a solo instrument. It has the bass, it has the rhythm part, it has the singing voice, the melody, and everything is contained in the one little box.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is turn it up and make it sound big. You know, I learned very early in my life, if you want a big crowd, make a big sound. Okay. So I'm trying to make the sound of a rock and roll band come out my acoustic guitar. I'm trying to get the same feeling as a rock and roll band having a great time, but I'm just playing acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's how I never think like, oh, this is just a solo acoustic guitar. Never. I never think like that. I always think I'm going to play this guitar and it's going to be as big as Elton John.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely.
I have no boundaries. You cannot tie me up. I will always come out. I will always burst out. You cannot fence me in.
Yeah, and when did you realize? Let's go back, because you made some important names even in the old blues players. When did you become aware of the acoustic guitar at first as an instrument? Which were the players or the songs or the music or whatever?
My first, I would have to say, the first influence on acoustic guitar would have to be Jimmy Rogers from the 20s. You know, years later, when I came to the big city and I discovered that there was this kind of underworld, a society of people who loved the blues and, you know, Muddy Waters and Big Bill Broonzy and so many of those guys, Blind Lemon Jefferson and all that. And I listened to it and it sounded out of tune, out of time, but there was something magical about it. You know what I mean? When I first heard it with my young ears and no experience really, it sounded not very good to me. And I thought, why is he in and out of time? Why is he dropping a bar? Why is his guitar out of tune? All these things, I'm thinking, all the things that I was taught, you mustn't do this, you must be in tune, you must be in time, all that stuff. So it took me a little while to grow up and understand that that was part of the mojo of that style, you know. And so, and I think it was, Eric Clapton has a lot to do with turning us on to some really good blues artists who came a long way before us. Plus, we have to remember, these people were not used to recording. Recording had only just been invented. People didn't know. They you know, they weren't.
They were playing.
They were just sitting playing. You know, it's the same thing as like. A friend of mine recorded me playing in his lounge room and sent the tape to Chet Atkins, and I didn't know. And it was that tape that told Chet what I was doing and where I was at. And he wrote to me saying, "Here is my phone number. Please come to Nashville." He knew something was going on with me. And so, you know, it wasn't a beautiful recording. It was just a recording of some cheap cassette.
Some guy. It was just some guy.
Yeah. So it's the same principle happening all over again, you know.
You were really well trained, because I know the story. You heard Chet Atkins when you were very young. Yeah. So you heard a player that was in tune, that was on time, that used to make these beautiful arrangements. But he was very Chet Atkins.
Yeah.
Is there a time when you discovered this other side that you were talking about? Is there some memory of you, maybe young or maybe in years, in later years, when you heard the old blues guys or whatever, and it gave you the same thing that Chad gave you in a different way? Which were the first acoustic guitar players that gave you that thrill?
Well, I think you have to go back to Robert Johnson to truly understand the impact of blues and all that sort of stuff. Plus, people from that era, where that came from, they were hardworking. They had a hard life, and they sang to make themselves feel better. That's really what it was. It's the same principle as in Africa when the drummer plays, everybody dances, and it's hypnotic. People dance and move, and the drums just keep going, and you get hypnotized, and you forget all your troubles. Your troubles leave you, and I think it's the same principle. That's why we respond to songs that take us away. We suddenly are smiling, and we haven't smiled in some time, and we're listening to this song. And I remember when I first heard some Chet and Jerry Reed, I had to hear it not twice or three times, but 100 times. I had to hear it because it made me smile. It made me feel so good. And so there it is. Music is good for us. It's a release. And so I think that's where the blues gave people a release from the pain of it,
And this is what I think every time I heard you playing, I don't know, 100 times maybe in these years, in so many different occasions. And this is what always comes through. I mean, I may know the songs, I may not know them, I don't know. But what comes is always something joyful. I'm happy. More than listening to one of my favorite guitar players. I'm happy to hear that. And
Right.
This is what exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's why when people say it must be difficult being in music business, and I say, I'm not in the music business. I'm in the happiness business. And that's, so yes, everything that is worth living for and working for it's not easy, but it's a great business to be in. And I've always known, like when I was little, because I was a skinny little boy who moved around and played the guitar, and I had no fear. And so when I moved around the stage, people laughed and they applauded, and it entertained them. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll move some more. So I moved more, and I was just following my instincts, and I think the same feeling for people when you write something that touches people deeply, it's you're doing them a service. You're bringing something good into the world, into their lives. Their lives are changed because you did something for them, and that's an important thing to remember. When people say, "What are you looking for? Are you looking for money, fame, all this sort of stuff?" I am looking to do a good job. That's all I'm looking for. Because if I do a good job and everybody leaves the show smiling, feeling great, then I feel good about my work. Usually the night when I play when I play much better than I could dream. Wow, not one person says, "Wow, I've never seen you play so good." But the night that everybody has a good time and everything, people don't stop talking about it, and they don't really care what my technique was,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, is there a time that you remember when you chose the acoustic guitar? Because I know, for example, how good you are on electric guitar. I heard you play, and you could be as well an electric guitar player
Thank you.
as you are an acoustic. But is there a time when you picked up the acoustic guitar as your main instrument, and what you did in the beginning?
Well, I started. It was when, in the 70s, I was using a Barker's-Berry thing that you could stick on the face of your guitar. I was playing nylon string like Earl Klugh, right? Because it was popular in the 70s. Earl Klugh's songs, and I had to earn a living, and I wanted to play. And play in places in Sydney. I was living in the big city in those days, and so I was using just a little Fender amp, and I was using a Barker's-Berry Bug that you stick on, and feeding back and bad sound. But that's what I played. I played a nylon string. I had a Chiari nylon string, and with a Barker's-Berry Bug on it, and then Takamine came out with a acoustic guitar that was
Amplified
with a good pickup, and then the pickup got better and better, and so I bought a Takamine, and I had a Bose PA, so I had the best sound that I could get for my money in those days. Bose PA.
Takamine guitar
and a Takamine guitar, and that was the best sound that I could get in those days. There was nothing else around. Oh, and Ovation, of course.
Yeah.
I own many Ovations. In fact, if you listen to Air Supply, the pop band Air Supply, on their early records, I'm All Out of Love, Love and Other Bruises, American Girls, what's it? No, I can't remember the name of the songs.
Yeah.
But anyway, I used my Ovation on all those records. Yeah, because it was a good sounding guitar.
Which years were? Which year was this?
78, 79, around that time. I was a studio musician as well. So then the Takamine became the best guitar, best plugged in sound, and I could get a big sound. I could play louder, and so all of a sudden I went from playing small little clubs to these big rock and roll places where I had 1,000 kids all standing going, yeah, yeah, like it was AC/DC, but it was just me on acoustic, just like playing the hell out of it, just trying to beat the hell out of it, and
what did you play at the time?
I played some Beatles songs. I played Guitar Boogie for 30 minutes. I played all sorts of songs. I can't remember a lot of my repertoire from that period, but it was pub music. That's what it was. It was hotel music for people who go to drink and chase girls. That's what it was.
And you were already working on your Beatles arrangements. Yeah. You were taking ideas from other players and developing.
This is how my version of classical gas came about. One night I had an encore, and I'm trying to think, what will I play? I've played everything, and I went into the melody of classical gas, and then I just made everything up. I improvised the whole thing, and the crowd went crazy. And so I thought, okay, now I have to make this work, So I listened to the original Mason Williams classical gas, and I discovered very quickly that as a solo guitar piece, it doesn't work. It takes too long to get going. The audience have the attention of a 3-year-old child. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I changed it all up, and I got it moving quicker and everything, and all of a sudden, it grew into what it is today, and that was out of necessity. That's how classical gas got to where it did, is because of I had to be. It had to be entertaining and moving and hitting people right between the eyes, you know. So, and of course, when I play it, and Mason Williams comes to my show in Eugene, Oregon, he always laughs and says, "I love the way you killed my song." You know? So, you know, but I don't forget that I'm in the entertainment business, and I have to entertain people, and you know, as much as I don't do that to other songs, that song in particular has it has 3 iconic parts which are in people's heads. So da 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 da, right? Then di 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 di, right? That's 2, and then a da da dum da 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 da. There's the 3 iconic parts. I just took them and I made up everything else and put it together like a Frankenstein.
Yeah. The Frankenstein song.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, I always tell people who only learn my version, I say you should go back and learn the original, and then if you want to play a different way, go ahead and do that. But make sure you know the original, because it's important, you know.
Of course. And there's so many songs you, yeah, of course, classical gas is a typical example of what you did with your style. But there are so many other things. I can think of Lady Madonna and Day Tripper, or
Yeah.
many other beautiful arrangements. How long it took for you to get to that point? Because those are so good, and I don't think the first day you pick up a Takamine, you were playing like that. I'm sure you were.
No,
you were very good.
I had to play thousands of shows so that all that creativity could come out, you know. Sometimes, like for instance, when I worked out how to play Lady Madonna, I then thought, okay, I must have more. So I worked out a little help from my friends. I worked out Michelle, and then I worked out Day Tripper. And then I put Lady Madonna and Day Tripper together. And then I started building, you know, Here Comes the Sun, into When I'm 64, into She's a Woman, into, you know what I mean? These iconic Beatles songs.
Yeah.
But these are the songs that work as instrumental. Not all Beatles songs work as instrumentals. This is a mistake that people make. Also, there is a lot of young people out there who play like Michael Jackson songs like Thriller or Billie Jean and all that. And it's very clever, but it doesn't go anywhere. And it's not musically entertaining. You can look at it and say, wow, that's very clever. But the reason why it works in the first place is because Michael Jackson is singing it and telling us the story, right? When you play a song like Billie Jean and it has the same thing over and over, after a while, it loses its magic, you know? And so I don't want to play songs that I feel that I'm not positive that this song will absolutely, you know, kick ass. So
is that just my impression? But after being like an ambassador for acoustic guitar for many years now, it's like acoustic guitar is calling back is calling you back. I saw you first with an old Kalamazoo guitar, and then I started seeing you more and more with beautiful acoustic guitars. Is there something you were trying? Is there some place you were trying to go after visiting so many musical places? Is the instrument calling you in some way different than before? Is that my impression, or is that just happening?
When I made my album Tommy Songs, I only used microphones, and I used my main Maiden guitar because it just got so good from so many shows and changing strings so much and playing. The guitar reached another level. It opened in such a beautiful way, and my Larrivee has opened in a beautiful way too. So I used my guitars with good microphones and nothing else, and that was my sound, you know. So
Yeah, of course.
it's really about getting the best tone that you can get. The best sound is a good acoustic guitar with a microphone on it, but it's not practical in the real world, where today I am in Rome, tomorrow I'm in somewhere else, the next day I'm somewhere else. I have to turn up, have a good amp that I can get a real good acoustic sound from, and I have my own sound man. You know, the moment that I made enough money from a show to have a second person, that I had a sound man. I have my own sound man, so that no matter what happens, I'm going to sound good. People say, you know, oh, you must play in this hall because the acoustics are great. I say, I don't care. If the electrics are great, then I'm going to sound great. You know, it doesn't matter what the acoustics does, because I'm going to sound good anyway, because my sound man is incredible. You know, and people thinking when you talk about the acoustics of a room, you're talking about a classical guitar with an orchestra. That's what they're talking about. For me, I'm a rock and roll band. You know what I mean? So it makes no difference to me as long as it's big and it's sweet and it's got all the frequencies I like.
Are you still working with Steve?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep. Steve has been with me a long time now. And
great guy.
I have Udo's new amplifier called DiCapo, and we're getting tone and quality. That's for sure.
Nice. I saw some pictures of you. I was going to ask. So this is very interesting, because it's clear how everything was a choice: musical, instrumental, whatever, on stage, performing. Everything was a choice, and nothing is left to just this happened.
No, well, let me say that all those years ago, in the 70s, 80s, I was playing electric guitar in rock and roll bands. And then when the band came off the road, I'm booked in a jazz club playing my solo acoustic show, and I'm building an audience. I'm slowly building something that's going to become me, that's going to become what I do now. And so I was always in different experiences, and people don't realize, but I was a bass player in bands. I was a drummer in bands. You know what I mean? I was the lead singer in a band. I had to go at everything because I wanted to have experience. I wanted to have a lot. So, you know, when I play a song, and people listen to something on my album and say, "Did you use a click track?" I say, "I am the click track."
Yeah, sure.
You know, I can play with a click track, and I can play right on the groove, but I am a click track when I play.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
I'm so conscious of it that you know, when I start moving on stage, I'm being a metronome. You know, and time to me is so important. If I didn't play in time, then maybe I could impress you with my technique, but it would wear out very quickly. You would be tired of it soon. You're waiting for me to groove. You're waiting to let go and let me take the groove. That's really what a person in the audience is waiting to just relax and go, ah, he's in charge now, you know. But I'm not really in charge. The universe is in charge of me. So,
Yeah. Just maybe one last question, because I know
yep.
you have to go. But just to let people understand how long it took for you to build what we know today. I mean, could we say only how long it took for you in term of years to become something you would be happy with
Well,
as a solo fingerstyle player? I mean,
fingerstyle player. Well, that started in the 70s. So it's a long time from the late 70s. But I mean, I was playing. I have been playing since 1960.
yeah.
So it's a long time.
So we could say 20 years, 25 years.
A lot more than that.
Yeah, or since you chose to be a
since I
fingerstyle
chose.
solo player.
Well, only came out in 2000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
when we
21
met.
years. That's this part of my life. Before that, I was in a rock and roll band, playing some electric, playing some acoustic, writing songs for both, and you know. But I think what I wanted to do when I was ready was to do what I do now. I'm living this dream that I had many years ago, that I could travel the world and be a concert player. So I'm still, it's still working, you know.
Don't wake up.
No, I don't want to wake up.
And don't wake us up.
So,
This is great.
I should call you back in an hour and a half.
Or we could call it even if you want. I mean, it's so great talking to you. It could go on for hours. Let's see what happens.
You let me know, okay?
Yeah, I will let you know. For now, I'm saying goodbye to the audience. I'm gonna stop recording, but we will say goodbye in private. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for doing this while on tour, which is not always easy. And I wish people knew how fun you are, because you're one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. And I'm not sure that people really know that, but spending some time with you is a lot more than people would imagine. So
Gracias, amigo.
it's always fun to see you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was Tom Emmanuel. Thank you again for doing this. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. Ciao, Tom.